join me in welcoming our keynote speakers for the evening, Mr. Yuriy Nemchykov, Director of Corporate Finance, and Mr. Oleg Yakovenko, Director of Strategy and Transformation at JSC Ukrainian Railways. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy. I would like, first of all, to thank the organizers of the event, the rail partners, for setting up this wonderful event, this opportunity for us to address the current and future donors of Ukraine and Ukrainian Railways. But first of all, let me express on behalf of my 200,000 colleagues at Ukrainian Railways our deepest gratitude to the British people, to the British Parliament, to the UK government, and all business and public organizations for their unwavering support of Ukraine in its struggle and its war against the Russian aggression. We will never forget those who were standing next to us, supporting us during these difficult times for my country, especially in our darkest hours in February, March last year. I have prepared some presentation to share with you, and Andy, can we put please the slides? Excellent. As today already was mentioned, that the Ukrainian Railways, it's really the company which is the backbone of the Ukrainian economy, and what we can see that during the beginning of the events which happened last year, that Ukrainian Railways has really become the lifeline for the country to withstand the aggression. We are the largest employer in the country with more than 200,000 employees. Actually, as a company, we generate about 1.5% of GDP of the economy. And in terms of the freight cargo transportation, we are quite and have impressive figures. Around 62% of all total cargo transportation in Ukraine is done by Ukrainian Railways. Actually, we already exceeded the European targets set for 2050, so we are quite ahead of Europe, especially in this particular area. And the total length of the railways tracks in Ukraine is about 27,000 kilometers. We operate the fleet of passengers railroad cars around 2,000. More than 1,000 locomotives, and the fleet of the freight wagons, which operates at the Ukrainian railway network, is 90,000. Next slide, please. The war has changed everything for us. The war, when it started, the Ukrainian railways have become immediately the target of the Russian attacks. From the very beginning, from the first hours of the war, the Russian rockets hit the infrastructure, hit the stations, the tracks, the power stations, and the war started basically from the first minute for the Ukrainian railways, and we had to immediately react to these events. And I have to say that Ukrainian Railways can honestly say that we stand up to the task. Next slide, please. What we've seen that from the very beginning, the most important task for us was to start the evacuation of people. More than 4 million people were evacuated, including 1 million children. As was already mentioned, there was a constant flow of refugees abroad. More than 600,000 people were evacuated by the Ukrainian railways abroad. We also evacuated more than 2,500 wounded civilians by medical trains. And not to forget the domestic pets, that more than 120,000 domestic pets were evacuated by the Ukrainian railways. Next slide, please. Ukrainian railways have become a lifeline for the humanitarian cargo. From the beginning of the war, we have transported more than 300,000 tons of the humanitarian freight by cargo train. More than 1,000 tons were transported by the passenger. It was mentioned today that the Peremyśl in Poland has become a very busy station where Ukrainian refugees were arriving from the beginning of the war. But what was also interesting that all these trains, when people left the trains, were immediately loaded. The passenger trains were loaded with water, with blanket, with food, and it was sent back to Ukraine. I was working myself at that time in Lviv in the Ukraine Railways humanitarian headquarters, which we set up at that time to coordinate the humanitarian deliveries. And we saw this growing wave of support and the humanitarian cargo, which was shipped by all the means. And when the airplanes are not working, when the road transport, the automobiles, the trucks are not so easily moving across the country, this was the railways which was working day and night and delivering to the cargo where it was needed. Next slide, please. Also, what's important that probably I would say that all the leaders of the free world up to now already had a chance to travel by the Ukrainian railways. We call it a railway diplomacy, because that's the Ukrainian railways has become the window, the door to Ukraine for hundreds of the foreign officials, but also for hundreds and for the thousands of journalists and other people, the volunteers from abroad who are traveling to Ukraine. We are quite happy to show our hospitality and to show to our punctuality and the service that we can provide. So for us, that's an honor to be able to provide safe and reliable transportation for all who is traveling to Ukraine right now. We are the monopoly. We enjoy it for the moment because the planes are not flying, but we try to do our best to stand up to the job. Next slide, please. The war has hit us hard, actually, because we saw that we lost basically half of our cargo volumes in 1 year, and we lost more than a third of the passenger turnover in 2022. Clearly, it was had a significant impact on the Ukrainian railways. However, with the support, we had the support of the government, who stand up at the time to provide us an emergency relief. Also, our creditors provide us the required support, and we were able to go through these difficult times and to keep our financials healthy, and to keep our operations running. Now we see in year 2023 the volumes are restoring, the volumes are growing, and the both cargo and the passenger turnover is going up. We are still far behind, of course, the pre-war year. However, we see a modest growth which is appearing. Ukrainian Railways, of course, is one of the very important routes for supplying the Ukrainian grain to the world markets, and especially right now when the grain corridor was blocked by Russia, the role of the Ukrainian railways is growing. Next slide, please. And of course, our people is our constant focus of our work, and more than 10,000 of the employees of Ukrainian railways are fighting in the armed forces of Ukraine. Already we have some people who are demobilized and returned to work in the company, and unfortunately 472 railway workers have been killed since the beginning of the war on February 24 last year. Next slide, please. We provide the support to our colleagues who have suffered from the war. We set up the Iron Fund. What we call an Iron Fund is a program of financial, physical and psychological assistance for the families of injured and deceased railway workers. An equivalent of 243,000 British pounds were raised for the Iron Fund. 243 railway workers received assistance. And we set up an adaptation programs for veterans who are coming back to work. This will be a very important for us task for the years ahead. As I mentioned, more than 10,000 of our colleagues right now are serving in the armed forces of Ukraine. And we expect that when they return, they would need very special psychological support. We have a program to adapt the working spaces for them, and to set up a program of retraining for who need this program. And we set up the team which is working with each individual veteran who is coming back to work. Next slide, please. We also care about our future colleagues, railway colleagues. And despite the war, the children railways in Kiev and Rivne have resumed their operations already in May 2022. The children railway is special places where kids can get acquainted with trains. It's small trains which are running on the circuit, and they have a chance to drive these small trains. And more than 1,000 children in Kiev and 300 in Rivne, which is in western Ukraine, are learning about railways. They join the programs which are run at these children railways. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, that we are constantly attacked by Russia. We have to repair our infrastructure basically daily. It's destroyed, damaged, and we have to react immediately. And I have to say that our colleagues who work in the infrastructure have shown the remarkable resilience and remarkable strengths in keeping the network running. Basically, immediately after any facility or the line is hit, we react immediately and we restore in the very short time the operations. We, despite the fact, even during the most difficult attacks, the trains are rerouted, and the passengers are provided the alternative transportation if needed. But sometimes we are able to restore the traffic already in basically 1 or 2 hours after the attack. Up to now, we have restored 30 bridges out of 69 which were destroyed. We have restored 53 engineering structures of the 131 destroyed. It's contact network, which is constantly we are restoring this network, and the power lines as well, which is also becoming especially the traction stations, substations are becoming the targets of the attacks. So we have to immediately address and repair them. This is for us big work. It's in many cases we have to provide the temporary fixes or the temporary supply power supply lines, but it serves a purpose for the time being. But clearly, in the future, we will have to address these issues. And to put more permanent solutions in place. And we are doing the reconstruction. We already started the reconstruction of some severely damaged facilities, and the construction is going as we speak. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, Ukrainian Railways play a very important role in supplying the freight and importing products to Ukraine, and also we are a critical line of exports transportation, especially for grain. We have 15 border crossing points operating, and from the very beginning of the war, we've started upgrading these border crossing points. The bogie change, because we have the different railway gauge, 1520, vice the 1435 millimeters railway gauge, standard railway gauge, and of course that creates for us a logistical technical problem, and we need to work with and expand the transshipment facilities at the border crossing points. We repair the infrastructure, hundreds of kilometers of the railway tracks at the border crossing points and the adjacent railway stations were repaired last year and this year. And we have seen a very significant increase of the put-through of the wagons through the border crossing points. Basically, we doubled the number of wagons which are crossing the border from the last year. We are the improvements at the border crossing points are done by with the support or international support. I have to mention the Solidarity Alliance initiative of the European Union, to thank for all the efforts which is done on the daily and weekly basis to expand the capacity of the border crossing points, or both road and railroad with European countries. Next slide, please. From the very beginning, we had hundreds of the organizations which started to support Ukrainian railways. And we just put on the slide the names of the maybe most important, but that's clearly not the exhaustive list of the supporters. I may ask my colleague Yuri, who is actually coordinating the financial side of relations with the supporting organizations to comment on this. Yuri, please.
Thank you, Oleg. Of course, our resistance and hope for the victory and returning back to normal, peaceful life would not be possible without your help, without your support. The support of a lot of organizations from a lot of countries all over the world. The United Kingdom, Germany, Poland, the USA, Switzerland, Japan, Korea, and a lot of other organizations from other countries. We have received very important support, emergency support in liquidity, in improving and restoration of railway infrastructure. That was crucial for us. Next slide, please. And of course, we want to say our deepest gratitude to Network Rail for support. In June 2022, at the almost very beginning of active phase of the war, the Office of Prime Minister of the United Kingdom announced the allocation of £10 million to restore the railway infrastructure of Ukraine and make the help with the export of grain from the country by rail. With this assistance, with this help, we could receive the components for rapid restoration of railway bridges and engineering constructions, engineering structures, tools for track repair and maintenance, and a number of other equipment and machinery. Of course, that would help us a lot in restoration on infrastructure and maintaining our day-to-day work and day-to-day life. Next slide, please. Considering that we still have substantial damage of our infrastructure, and we still have some immediate needs and rails, equipment and materials to repair bridges, and as Oleg mentioned, the traction of substations that are the major point of attacks from Russia. Next slide, please. And Oleg, over to you just to say about our strategic investment areas, as it is purely your direction.
Yeah, thank you, Yuri. That clearly we have the most important right now for us is to keep the railways running, the system running. So the sustainability is probably the most important, and resilience is the most important issues. However, we have to look several steps ahead and clearly see on the times then when the cargo volumes will start growing, and that we have to make sure that we are prepared for the growth and the recovery of the country. For us, our strategic investment areas where we are right now securing the investment plans and the financing and support is clearly the number one is our fleet of locomotives, and because unfortunately the average age of the Ukrainian Railways locomotives is quite high. We have to upgrade our fleet. We have to upgrade the fleet of the wagons, both passenger side and on the cargo side. And of course, we look for the future, and important for us is the development of our multimodal business, because that's the future. For the moment, the share of the container transportation is very low. It's around 2.5%. And clearly, that's a huge potential for the growth. We are investing already right now in the terminals construction, and in the platforms, wagons fleet, in the containers fleet, and we are upgrading the equipment at the intermodal terminals. Next slide, please. And of course, the most important, one of the most important areas of our development is the Euro integration. We have ambitious plans to build more than 3,000 kilometers of European standard gauge tracks to connect to the TNT European Union railway area. Last year, European Union in July last year has announced the extension of the four TNT corridors to Ukraine, and on the map here you can see the future TNT corridors of the European gauge, which will be constructed in Ukraine. The first project, the most important, which we're already starting to build, and we hopefully will start end of this year, beginning of the next year, is the connection between the border of Poland and Lviv. This is one of the most intensive traffic-intensive lines that we plan to expand the capacity and add the European gauge. We are here very thankful for the support that European Union provides us, and we are cooperating with the Connecting Europe facility of European Union, the fund which provides the support for the project, the infrastructure development project in European Union. And we are looking forward for the continuing cooperation with European Union to build this network in Ukraine, which will allow to travel and to transport the goods to and from Ukraine without the need to change to transship or change the wagons. So that's probably one of the key development area. The total estimated investment which will be required to implement this plan is estimated around 15 billion euro, which will be required to invest in order to build this network. But we are talking about the future development, but we are making already first steps today. So, and the next slide, please. And clearly, again, I would like to thank you for your support, and we're looking for the future cooperation, and would be happy to answer the questions, and looking forward for the future projects that we can have together. And again, your support is highly appreciated. Thank you very much.